more Rams position battles that you need to know about heading into training camp. Also, what will the Rams record be after 15 games? And where did ESPN rank Aaron Donald in their list of top 100 athletes since 2000? Do we like where he was ranked? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so do us a huge favor. Join the party over on YouTube, trying to get to 14,000 subscribers. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and also let us know, are you okay with where Aaron Donald was placed on ESPN's list of the top 100 athletes since 2000. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation, now the Rams 4 Locked On. And as always, I'm joined for the Rams pre, half, and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's entering his 9th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we are talking more about the position battles that you need to know heading into the 2024 season. Also, our next part of our schedule breakdown, what will the Rams record be after 15 games? We're going to start with where Aaron Donald was ranked on ESPN's top 100 athletes since 2000. Also, Aaron had some very interesting comments he made on a podcast about his retirement and if he would come back. But first, this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Travis. So your company, ESPN, the 4 letters, greatest company in sports, they released their list of the top 100 athletes since 2000. You know me, lifelong lover of the 4 letters, but I feel like they made this list just to kind of get under my skin a little bit. You had KG at 23 in front of Peyton Manning, Albert Pujols, and Floyd Mayweather. Didn't love that one. We didn't love Tiger Woods at 8. Didn't love Serena at 2, didn't love Phelps at 1, but let's start with Aaron Donald. Now, Aaron Donald was at 20, and for me, this is the first thing I looked at when I saw where Aaron Donald was placed. I looked at who are the NFL players in front of him, and it's 2 guys. It's Tom Brady, who is widely considered to be the best player to ever do it at his sport, and Patrick Mahomes, who I think is more talented than Tom Brady, and possibly the most talented quarterback ever, who single-handedly came back to win 2 Super Bowls. So I have no issue with those 2. Most important position in sports. They're 2 of the best to do it. So I actually feel good. One of the things I actually do like about this list is where Aaron Donald was placed.
Yeah, I think that they got the Aaron Donald part of this right. We can maybe talk about what parts weren't right in a second. But and by the way, I want credit for staying on topic right here because I want to talk about Michael Phelps desperately, but I'm going to stay on topic with Aaron Donald right here. You're right. I think what's most important is who's ahead of him. Tom Brady is one of the 3 acceptable answers for who should be number 1. So that's fine. We'll put Tom Brady over there. He should be ahead. Patrick Mahomes, just as a quick aside, Patrick Mahomes would have to do what he's doing for 13 more years to be equal to Tom Brady. Okay, so that's how much clear Tom Brady is of Patrick Mahomes. That the very next guy on the list, at least as far as NFL players go, is Aaron Donald, is extraordinary. Because and by the way, I also think it's accurate when you look at the last quarter century. That's what this list is, of the 21st century, from 2000 to 2024, where we are right now. What makes Donald's placement at number 20 just remarkable to me, he played less than half of that quarter century. He only played 10 years. Like, if we're talking about being the best at what you do over 25 years, or the best guys in this 25-year window, to play less than half of the amount of time and still make the top 20 is unreal. I think it solidifies the things that Rams fans already know, which is he isn't just the best Rams defender of all time. He is. He isn't just arguably the best player at his position of all time, which he might be. He might be the greatest defensive player in the history of the most popular sport in this country. You want to say Lawrence Taylor? I'm not going to slap the words out of your mouth. That's a pretty good pick, too. You want to say Reggie White? Sure. But Aaron Donald belongs in a conversation with those guys. And I thought it was an incredible, I get it. I think you said it really well. These lists are designed to inflame. These lists are designed to elicit debate. And I get it. And this one certainly did its job. But that Aaron Donald landed in the top 20 is a testament to his greatness.
100%. And I do have a little issue with Lewis Hamilton, the F1 driver who definitely has all the accolades, but still, I mean, do we have a locked on F1? I don't think we do, right? We don't. Is there? So that's the thing. I mean, come on. I'm not here to debate. Is F1 a sport? I get it. I mean, that here, you see the guy entering the chat right now that wants to say e-gaming is a sport and chess is a sport, all this stuff. Fine. I'm not going to debate you on that, but Aaron Donald deserved to be at that. Because the truth of the matter is, if you put Aaron Donald in one of those cars, I like his chances better than Lewis Hamilton getting triple teamed against the Eagles offensive line. Okay, so I like his chances better there for Aaron Donald. So look, it's great to see Aaron Donald get these accolades. It's great to see Aaron Donald get this level of respect. 10-time Pro Bowler. Yes. We know that, like you said, he's on the shortest list, a table that really only has 3 chairs. Yep. With Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, and Aaron Donald for the greatest. And you could absolutely, if you look at the metrics, if you look at the in-depth stats, they'll point to the fact that Aaron Donald was as big of a problem as any player's ever been for an offense in the history of this game. So I think when you look at his personality, be on the West Coast, on the Rams, I saw that list. I was like, please don't disrespect my boy. Then I was like, you know what, man, how about you don't put him on this list? So that pisses him off enough to just want to come back, unretired, and have a couple great seasons. And he did say on a podcast, you saw that it's July and he doesn't have the passion yet. So what do you make of that? I didn't love that.
So, well, it's funny, D-Mac. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was on Ryan Clark's podcast. And I think depending on what you want to hear, you could hear it in there. He said, going through, we talked about this on my radio show yesterday, that he said, I don't want to do this for a full year. I don't want to do this through camp. I don't want to do this for 18 games or 18 weeks a season. That to me sounds like somebody who's willing to come in near the end and maybe take a shot at it. To your point, saying that he's lost his appetite for it, his passion for it, I think of all the things we talk about with Aaron Donald, that's the hardest objection to overcome. What made him great is not just the physical tools that he was given and refined and dedicated his life to make as elite as possible. It was whatever was in his heart or brain that made him play the way that he did. He was relentless. He was always in shape. He was incredibly competitive. And if that's not there, I don't know if there's anything that Sean McVay or a teammate or anybody else could say to get him to relight that fire. If it's just, hey, man, I don't want to go through camp in 18 weeks and this, that, and the other thing, then I think we can have that, that 5% chance that he's coming back still there. But I'm with you. The idea that, I don't have this in my heart anymore, that's a very difficult objection to overcome.
I totally agree. By the way, Aaron Rodgers at 91, behind Bryce Harper, behind Chris Paul, behind Steve Nash. I'm going to have to go on a darkness retreat after reading this list. I'm just telling you right now. Tiger Woods, I think there's been 3 golfers in the history of golf that have spent the entire calendar year atop the rankings. Nick Faldo did it once in 93. Greg Norman did it once in 1996. Tiger Woods did it in 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. He did it 8 times. Yeah,
he's pretty good.
He's a global phenomenon.
Yeah, no, he was unbelievable. The only reason, there are 3 answers to who should be at the top. It's Brady, it's James, and I don't know soccer, but everybody that does tells me that Messi's a good choice. So I will defer to them on that, and I will accept Lionel Messi as a possible answer. I think Tiger's right in there after that, because Tiger's greatness, a little bit of it came before the start of the century. Remember, he started doing what he did in 97. So that doesn't count, at least up until 2000. And his dominance was over a 10-year window. Brady's and LeBron's are over a 20-plus year window, and there really has been no and maybe a very small dip. Those are why those two guys should be at the top. Anyone else, you're just trying to bother people, and they succeeded. And by the way, I looked real quick, D-Mac, at least as far as a quick Google search of Apple Podcast goes, there is no Locked On F1, so perhaps there's an opportunity for you and me.
Okay, let's do it. Let's hop in the car, man. We'll be like the first to do like a 2-seater F1 racer car. I'm down with that. I'll take shotgun. You can drive, man. But
no, hey, I don't want to drive.
To your point about Woods, though, the Tigers slammed 2000 to 2001, only player to win all 4 professional majors in a row. But I agree with you. I would say Messi, LeBron, Brady. I mean, and then I think Woods.
Brady or
absolutely.
LeBron. Yeah.
LeBron, look, of course, I'm not the biggest
LeBron. Still one of the best 10 players in the league, and he's 40. Okay.
I'm actually surprised after the games that Bronny just had that ESPN didn't immediately put Bronny James in the top 3. That's a shocker.
The editor is probably working on it as we speak. I'm sure it's
a couple days ago. My hot take was that Bronny James was going to retire before LeBron James, before his dad. Then he needed like 12 years at LMU. But no, let's head to the next topic though. But great list by ESPN as far as sparking debate, sparking conversation. I love to see Aaron Donald getting respect. That's the most important thing. But coming up next on Locked On Rams, we're going to continue our schedule breakdown. What will the Rams record be after 15 games? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. So whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your parts guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Also, let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. So when you are hiring for your small business, you're going to want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Think about it when you've been running your business, right? Think about your favorite team. When you have an opening, a vacancy, and you find the person that is like, it's not great, then you're going to have to fill that spot again, right? And you're going to have to constantly go searching. And when you get it right, everything just clicks. And LinkedIn, though, not just a job board, they're going to help you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be perfect for the role, right? In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. And on LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, here in our second segment, we're going to continue to break down this schedule. We're doing it 5 games at a time. We just finished the first 10. At that point, Rams sitting at 7-3. Well, the interesting nugget about this next stretch of games is the travel. Now, this season, the Rams are traveling 24,263 miles. That's the 6th most in the NFL. A lot of that travel comes between weeks 11 and 16. And you look at week 12, It's the Philadelphia Eagles. A Sunday night football game. We saw the season that the Eagles had last year. Got off to a really nice start. You beat the Rams in LA. Then they just kind of fell apart. The defense just forgot how to tackle. And this season, Jason Kelsey's no longer the front of that offensive line. He's retired. Jalen Hurts, hopefully for them, is going to have another MVP-like season.
Yeah.
They have a lot of offensive weapons, though. I mean, you bring in Saquon Barkley, still have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. But I think for this Rams team, Sunday Night Football, I have them losing against the Dolphins. I think that they win this primetime game. Dolphins, 8-3 after this.
I think what's interesting here is Nick Sirianni still the coach by the time we get to this point? Like, if they get off to a good start, I obviously he would be, but I think that as you come into this season, Sirianni is one of the guys that is, on the hot seat before they've played a single game. If they get off to a little bit of a weird start, they probably make a coaching change at some point. He might not even make it to LA by the time we're here. It is the Eagles. You could convince me that by the time the Eagles come to LA, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. I could see a world where that's true. You could also show me a world where Jalen Hurts has completely regressed, where the offensive line, like you mentioned, being rebuilt is not nearly what it once was. And this is a team that is on an interim coach and totally in flux. I believe both of those things. I would have to guess that the Rams win this game simply because it's in LA, simply because I think the Rams are a better offensive team than the Eagles are. But this is one that I really don't have a great feel for right now, D-Mac. I'll give it to the Rams right now, but I think the Eagles are one of the great question marks coming in. I could see them being good. I could see them being a huge disappointment. This is one of those classic, from season to season, you don't know what you're going to get. I think the Eagles are the ultimate example of this.
I totally agree. I think that's part of the Eagles season will really define kind of what this window is like. Are they the 2016 Cubs, right? I mean, are they a team that you thought was built for the long haul, but they have the weapons? I mean, Goddard, Smith, and we'll see. It really comes down to how this Rams defense will look at this point of the season. Yeah. Will they be a disappointment? Will Chris Shula be someone that we've given our stamp of approval to at that point? So we'll find out, but I got a dub for that one. Then week 13 at New Orleans. Now, really, one of the biggest turning points last season was beating the Saints at SoFi on Thursday Night Football. That really put the wheels in motion for, okay, this team is actually going to make the playoffs and really change things for that team. And you look at the Saints team, Alvin Kamara isn't as explosive as he once was. He's getting older. Derek Carr is still their quarterback. It's at the Superdome, though. And we know when the Rams go to the Superdome, a lot of Saints fans are extra charged for that, but still, I think the Rams get this one. I think the Rams win on the road. They go to 9-3.
The Rams and the Saints, since I've been covering the Rams since they returned to Los Angeles, it feels like they play every single season. I know that they haven't, but it sure feels like they have. And generally speaking, this is how it's played out. When they play here, the Rams win. When they play there, they lose. So I'm going to assume that the pattern holds right here. I agree with you. I don't think Derek Carr is great. I think that a lot of their skill guys are past their expiration date, but it just feels like one of those places, NFC Championship game aside a few years ago, it's really odd how the Rams, whether it's the Niners, whether it's the Saints, teams that they've struggled with in certain points, when the chips are there, when it's a big one, they find a way to do it. But regular season stuff, that's been a really bad spot for them. I'm going to take New Orleans in that one.
Absolutely. We know there's some bad blood there for all those Saints fans. I mean, you're not going to sell Roby Coleman throughout the first pitch. I guarantee that for that one. Then week 14, Buffalo. So Buffalo, very different this season. No Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. They both left in free agency, but the most important player they still have in his prime and is Josh Allen. And I think you're still going to see a potent offense for that team. They've consistently been one of the better regular season teams in the sport last 5, 6, 7 years. So I think this Buffalo Bills team, that's a tough one at home for me. It's going to be a lot of the Bills Mafia in the house. Can't pick the Rams to win every single game. I think I'm going to take the Bills winning this one at SoFi Stadium. I think I'm still a little mostly scarred from ring night a couple years ago. So I got the Bills win that one.
Yeah, they just didn't beat them. They absolutely pounded them in the dust that night. And it was all Bills fans inside of SoFi Stadium, unfortunately. That's just the way that went. The Bills are interesting. The Bills against the Rams in the limited times that we've seen them play against each other have given the Rams a really hard time, specifically in the Josh Allen era. Assuming Allen's there, that's probably a tough matchup for him. I'll go back to something that I've said a few times. Sean McVay gets a second whack at a guy or third whack at a guy. He usually finds a way to win that game. I'm going to take the Rams here more because I hope that it happens than I think it's going to happen. But I like Sean McVay's ego, his whatever that good thing is that makes you say, oh, you're not going to do that to me again. I think Sean McVay has a very healthy amount of that. So I will take the Rams in a narrow one there.
For sure. By the way, I don't know if Keon Coleman, the receiver for the Bills out of Florida State's on your radar yet, but this guy is like the most quotable rookie I've seen in a long time. They asked him if he likes to play golf, and it's kind of on theme for this show. He says, I'm not Tiger Woods. I'm Tiger Wish He Coulds. So, I mean, this guy, I'm telling you, look out for this personality. So I think Bills fans, they want to see if he can replace Stephon Diggs. Then week 15 at San Francisco. Okay, we know the record. We don't need to bring it up. We know also the Rams, they did win up in San Francisco when both teams were playing with a lot of backups, very different. And the 49ers, they're big, they're physical, they're going to try to pound the rock. This one's tough, but you know what? I picked against the Rams a lot against the Niners to try to reverse hedge. For some reason, it's a TNF game, short week. I'm going to pick the Rams over the Niners in this one. I just feel kind of gross always picking the 49ers against the Rams.
Coming off of Buffalo, short week, and it's in San Francisco. Okay.
Yeah.
That
feels weird.
It is weird, and I guess that's one of the times that you want it to be weird, because if it holds form, that does not bode well for the Rams. Everydayers know this about me. I'm going to think that the thing that has happened previously is going to continue to happen, especially when it's happened a lot. Like you mentioned, I know they beat him towards the end of last season, but that was a very different set of circumstances. I'll take San Francisco in this one. It kills me to say it, but until I see them start to compete more consistently against them during the regular season, I assume we're going to get more of the same.
I just think they have to find a way to, from a morale standpoint, get a road win, get a regular season win. We know two things are going to happen. Either they get that win, they say the curse is over, or they lose and they just bring up what happened in 2021 all over social media. So that's what happens. That's the Rams fans way of dealing with that. And week 16, this one's really tricky to me. This is one of the hardest ones to predict. At New York against the Jets, and the Jets, they fortified that offensive line. You look at what they did, adding Mike Williams. You have another receiver to pair with a up-and-coming receiver in Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall, a fantasy just boom for a lot of guys. Aaron Rodgers, what will he look like at that point of his career? I don't know if you saw Aaron Rodgers joking about playing with Devontae Adams again, kind of throwing that out there. It's on the road. It's early. I actually predicted this one as a Monday Night Football game, so that was unsuccessful. But I'm actually going to take the Jets to win this game on the road, and the Rams being 10-5 after 15.
There are exactly one amount of people that have been good at this age in the NFL at that position. One, Tom Brady. That's it. He is way past the time where you would expect somebody to be good. He got hurt in the opening game last year. You go back to what it looked. Remember when we were talking about with Green Bay? Well, let's see what it looks like when Aaron Rodgers left. You know what it looked like? Pretty good. It seemed like they had a certain amount of bounce in what they were doing there. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that is wildly talented, incredibly good at what he does, but wears out his welcome and makes guys do the, oh man, this guy again. And in Green Bay, he had so much institutional credibility that they just kind of went, okay, cool. He's completely taken over that New York team since coming in there. He's basically running the show, steamrolling the coach. That can't be good. There's no way that's a good thing. I just don't think the Jets are as good as a lot of other people do. I'll take the Rams on the road in that one.
Rams on the road. Okay, I feel that. I like that. So it looks like, hey, this Rams team, they stay healthy. Everything works out. You're looking at a playoff team. So we got the final games coming up next week. But real quick, we're going to dive into our position battles. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
This edition of Locked On Rams is sponsored by BetterHelp. And I think we all do this at times. I think we're all a little guilty about this, where you compare what you're doing, what you have, to other people that maybe you see on social media, right? That, well, why do I have this and they have that? And you get caught up in wishing about things that really sometimes you have no control over, and you want to have a little bit more like some other people do. Therapy can help with this, right? Comparison is the thief of joy, and it's easy to envy other people's lives. But therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living your best life. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, Why not give BetterHelp a try? It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's designed to be flexible. It's designed to be suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. And if it doesn't quite click for you, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So stop comparing and stop focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, so we're going to pick up on our series of position battles that Rams fans need to know heading into training camp. And one of the more interesting ones, especially when you look at the lead topic on Aaron Donald, is the defensive line mix. And right now, Braden Fisk, we talked about him yesterday. You have Tyler Davis out of Clemson. You have Deshaun Johnson, the last pick in last year's draft, and then Bobby Brown the second. So I think Bobby Brown, you don't talk too much about him. And when you look at that nose tackle spot, we'll see how Davis looks coming in. I know that he has a lot of potentially have impact there. But I think what you're going to see, Kobie Turner, Braden Fisk. Those are the guys up front that'll be making the big plays, having the biggest impact. And I think Brown, what he can bring to this team is be their best run stopper potentially in spots.
So I full disclosure, I'm a little biased here. Bobby Brown, I'm a big fan of his. I got a chance to sit with him and talk with him, interview him during a Rams event a few months ago. And I came away incredibly impressed. And first of all, physically, he's just such a massive guy, big, strong, powerful guy. He's pretty young. He hasn't played a ton of football so far. I think that, last year he missed some time because of a PED suspension and whatnot. So I think that as he gets more and more reps, he's going to have a bigger and bigger impact. I'm a big fan of his. I hope that it starts to happen there. So I agree with you. I think that the two guys that you mentioned are the two guys that are going to get the lion's share of the opportunities right there. But as we know, the plan is one thing, the execution is another. And as we get deeper into the season, you're going to shuffle guys in and out. And if Brown can play at the level that I'm hopeful he can, I think he'll start to steal some of those snaps. I think that he's a guy to look at coming into this season as somebody who, by the middle of the season, we could be having one of those conversations, D-Mac, with hey, who's kind of having a quiet, sneaky, great year? Bobby Brown. That's my hope for him. I'm optimistic there.
I totally agree. I think you've seen some of these guys have meteoric rises, like the Kobie Turners, like the Puka Nakuas, and then there's ones that are making incremental gains, and Bobby Brown's certainly one of those guys. Every little step that Bobby Brown takes for this team is going to be big for his success, for himself, and for this team. But I think the biggest X factors, Braden Fisk, if he comes in and he does anything like they think he's going to do, and he's the reason why they trade up to get him, that's going to be a massive X factor, because him in verse, there's just not a lot of examples of guys coming out at the same time that know how to play off each other like that.
Yeah.
So the Rams may have found a way to expedite defensive line production there.
I think so too. And I like what you said. I think that those guys knowing each other and being familiar with one another and how they can play off each other is very, very important. I know I'm a broken record on this one, but I'm going to say it again. The coordinator in all of this plays an outsized role, right? That Chris Shula getting this job for the first time here, I think is really interesting. I don't know if he's going to be good. I don't know if he's going to be bad. It's an unknown. Like with Raheem Morris, you knew almost exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get NFL head coach caliber leadership, scheme, and everything else. There's a reason Raheem Morris is a head coach now in this league. It's because he's really good at what he does. Chris Shula's got this job for the first time. Does he put the pieces in the right place? Does he do what you're talking about, D-Mac, which is let Fisk and Verse play off one another the way that they did as Seminoles? Does he create something that allows that to happen, or does he have a scheme that maybe is a little different than that? I think when we're talking about any of these defensive positions, you have to take the coordinator in as well and add it to the equation. How much, I guess, time will tell, but it's going to be a part of it for sure.
Could not agree more. You lose your best player on defense, and you have a new offensive coordinator. I mean, you have a new defensive coordinator, and you lose your best player. So, I mean, that alone makes it very difficult, but still a big challenge, a new addition of this defense, and hopefully guys like Bobby Brown really step up. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA, and you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.